Right. Okay. Now, of course, there are actually two models of approved financial calculator. Of course, I use Texas Instruments. Of course, CFA also allows HP 12C. Okay, it looks like a small casing, but we don't really use that yet. I think everyone uses Texas. Okay. Having the plus is just sufficient. Of course, the professional version has maybe 2 additional functions which helps you answer 2 more questions. But I wouldn't say that that's a deal breaker. Okay. Now let's start. I assume your calculator is most of yours is like very fresh, just unpacked. You never do anything with it, or you have not changed the setting. If you have, it's good. If not, then make sure you follow the setting here. Right. Now let's go slowly. Now, first of all, right, I assume it's totally new, so of course you have to press on to switch it on. Okay. Yeah. So of course, one thing to understand about your calculator, if it's new, right? If let's say when you try to answer questions like, let's say 3 plus 6 times 5, okay, most of us normally we try to do multiplication and division first before we do addition and subtraction. So of course, most of you will, let's say, we will take 6 times 5, that's 30. 30 plus 3, that's 33. Okay, most of us will say it's 33. But if your calculator is brand new and you try to enter 3 plus 6 times 5, right? Okay, it will give you 45. That will be your answer. Okay, why? Because by default, the calculator follows what we call a chain system. That means they will do whatever you enter first. So like in this case, when I enter 3 plus 6, immediately the calculator will say, hey, that's 9. And then when you enter times 5, they'll give you 45. That's the chain operating system. Okay, in the next slide, I'm going to change this. But I just want to tell you that this is a setting that your calculator is currently using. Now, of course, in the next slide, we need to do a bit of setup. Okay. Now, of course, what I need you guys to do is press seconds. You can find second is a yellow button also on the left-hand side, top left-hand side of your calculator. Which is on my side is yellow. Okay, second. You press second, and then you press the decimal point, which is next to 0. Okay. When you press second, right, is to activate the second function, which is the function on top of the button. So in this case, second decimal point means format function. So when you go in, right, the first thing that you will see is DEC, which stands for decimal place. Now, of course, 2 is the default setting. Of course, you guys can choose 4 or 6 or 8, anything that you want. Okay, but for myself, I normally recommend using 9. Okay, 9 allows the calculator to be flexible. They can show as many decimals as required. Okay, that means if you need 4 decimal places, they will show 4. If you need 6, it will automatically show 6. It will adapt to the calculation. Okay, this is my recommendation. If you don't want to follow this, I recommend at least 4 to 6. So of course, let's say if you follow mine, that's for tonight, follow me. Okay, just enter 9. Okay, just type 9 and then press enter. So I would say your calculator is a bit dumb. When you enter the number, right, they actually don't know what you want to do next. So to save the number, always press enter. Always keep this in mind. Okay, press enter, then you will save the number in, then it's done. Okay. Now next, I need you to press up. Of course, it's a shortcut. You can press down all the way if you want. You can press the up arrow key here. Next thing you will see is CHN, which is the default setting. If yours is already AOS, it's fine. You must have changed it in the past. It's okay. If yours is still showing CHN, what I need you guys to do is just press second, enter. Second enter is to activate the set function. So when you press second enter, right, your mode will change to AOS, which is what we want to actually do. Okay, AOS means is the algebraic operating system. They will do the operation by brackets, then multiplication and division, then addition and subtraction. Okay, so I need you guys to change to this AOS mode. Okay, once you're done, of course, press CEC, finish. Then you will exit your format screen. That's it. That's the first setting that you need to do. Right? Any issues? Anything you guys want to ask? No.
Just trying to do some error key, maybe 6 or something.
Oh, really? Which look at break?
I just switch it on again.
Second decimal point. Decimal. Okay. 9. Enter. Enter. Go up. Second. Enter. Enter. Enter.
Yeah.
Right. Then press CEC. Press CEC to get up.
CEC.
Yeah. Okay. Done for that. Okay, it's quite straightforward. Okay, now let's do a few questions You see what are the typical things that you need the calculator for. Okay. In level 1, you will use it a lot. Level 2, you will use it a lot. Level 3, you will not use that much. Level 3 is more about strategy, more about writing. Okay. Not much. You still use a calculator in level 3, but not as extensive. Now, of course, first part, the most important part here will be the TVM. You'll find it on the third row of your calculator. They even put a very nice color there. The whole row is called TVM. That means time value of money, which is the relationship between time, interest rates, and cash flow. Alright, now there are these 5 important buttons here. I've arranged it in the order that you see in the calculator. There is N, IY, PV, PMT, and FV. Of course, N here means how long did you invest your money for? Okay, or it can represent how many times did you invest. We'll come to this later. Then IY is the interest rate. Okay, interest rate per period. Here, keep in mind that for your calculator, right, always enter IY in percentage. For example, if your interest rate is 10%, just put 10. Don't go and convert to decimal, put 0.1. Okay? The calculator assumes that this has to be a percentage. So you adapt to it. Okay? Now for the PV, it means present value. Some people know it as principal, what you put in today. Okay, this is now at this point in time. PMT is for annuity payment. If you have a sequential cash flow, for example, you receive $1,000 every year for 5 years. That's what we call a annuity payment. It's what we call a repetitive cash flow. Then FV here will be the future value. Okay, this is a value in the future. How far in the future? That depends on the value of N that you set. If I set N as 6, that means my FV will be the value in 6 years' time. Okay? So the FV is tied to your N here. And be careful, your PMT will also be tied to your N. If I put PMT as 1,000, if I put N as 6, that means the calculator will think that your $1,000 will repeat itself for 6 years. That means 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 up to year 6. 6 1,000s. So be careful there when you use this. Okay, I'll show you the examples along the way. So we are just assuming one single cash flow for now. Later on, we'll expand further. Okay, let's try a very simple question. So we're going to touch through on this future value of a single cash flow. We're going to assume annual compounding. Annual compounding in layman's term means that I only pay you interest once a year. That's called annual compounding. If I say quarterly compounding, that means in a year, I will pay you interest 4 times every quarter. Okay, so this is how often your money earns interest. Okay, now, so let's say Peter invests $1,000 into an interest-bearing account. That means that account pays him interest. Okay, and that interest is 5% per annum for 6 years. So if he leaves his money there, he should earn 5% every year. Now, how much would this investment be worth at the end of the 6 years? Okay, so to do this right, okay, you learn how to use the calculator. You will, of course, for 6 years, the sequence doesn't matter. So let's say if I go by the order of the calculator, so for 6 years, you will type 6, enter the number first, then press the button that you want to allocate it to. So it's for 6 years, so I'll put 6, then I'll put N. So it will save it into the button N. So the calculator will know that it's for 6 years, 6 periods. For the interest rate is 5%. Again, as I mentioned before, enter it in percentage. Just put 5 and then press IY. Save it in. Okay? If you didn't press IY, the calculator won't do it for you. Okay? So it's really dumb. Okay, so for the PV, you will have to press 1,000 and then PV. That's how much you invested today. That's the present value. For PMT, there's nothing here because you didn't reinvest any money every year. Okay, that's 0. And then lastly, to get the future value, you will need to press CPT. CPT stands for compute. So you are basically telling the calculator, hey, I want you to compute the future value. That's it. Okay, press compute future value. Then you will get 1340.1. Now, some of you will feel a bit weird. You say, hey, how come there's a negative sign there? Okay, so the calculator is just trying to give you the output that is being programmed for. So basically what happens here, right, is when you enter the 1,000 here, the calculator treats this as an inflow. That means money is coming in. So of course, when you calculate the FV, it's the money going out. That's how they are doing it. Basically, the PV and FV will always be opposite signs. So be careful there. If I put negative 10,000 here, negative 1,000, then this will be positive. So normally, I'll tell the students, never mind, just ignore the sign. Okay, just take the number and then you will find it in ABC. It won't kill you. In the exam, right, you won't see A, negative 1340. No one's money will become negative if it pays you 5% per year. Okay, so don't fall for that kind of trap. Okay, but it's a very simple operation. Any questions? Anything you want to ask on this simple operation? We'll try to see how all the buttons work. Okay, and then again, I want to emphasize the order in which you enter these values doesn't matter. You could have started with PV or PMT or IY, and it doesn't matter. As long as you have entered everything in before you press compute PV everything. Okay?
And the order doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You could have gone anyway.
Suppose that the PV I'm supposed to pay 1,000, but I accidentally press 10,000. Then I press PV. Then in order to correct the mistake, do I need to clear the whole thing again?
No need. It's okay. You just enter the correct value. Just press PV again.
Oh.
Yeah. So you don't have to clear the whole thing. Okay, but that he raises a very good point. Let's say you guys want to be, you want to play it safe. You don't want any risk, right? You can actually set all these things back to 0. Okay. How you do that is very simple. On that row, right, you will see, you just have to press second FV. Okay, what do you see on top of FV here? FV is clear, TVM. So when you press second FV, right, the calculator will basically set everything here back to 0. Okay, that is in case you want to be on the safe side. But for me, as long as you are consciously aware, it's okay. Yeah, done. Okay, first part is annual compounding. Now, next part is what happens if it's not annual compounding? What happens if your money actually generates interest faster? Okay, so in this scenario, again, let's say Davis is Davis now. He invests $1,000 again into an interest-bearing account. It pays 5% per annum, but it compounds quarterly. That means the account actually pays you interest every quarter. So your money actually turns faster. You get more interest actually. Now, in this case, right, you will also be investing for 6 years. I purposely made it the same so that you can see the difference, how much your money will be worth after 6 years. Now, of course, how do you make this adjustment in your calculator? It's very simple. Okay, now for 6 years and then your interest is paid every quarter. That means 4 times a year. So if it's 6 years and it's paid 4 times a year, means that you're going to get your interest for 24 quarters. So you will just take 6 times 4. Okay, so you press 6 times 4 equals to, you press equals to, you get 24, then you press n. Okay, save it in. Then for the interest rate, okay, now your interest rate is 5% per annum, but it's paid quarterly. So you will press 5 divided by 4, okay, and then you get 1.25, which means that your interest rate is 1.25% per quarter. Okay, then you press I1. So just to recap, when your compounding frequency is different, you need to adjust to it. So here you have 24 quarters, and then interest rate is 1.25% per quarter. Okay. Now, of course, the rest are the same. It's still 1,000 for PV, okay, and then 0 for PMT. Hi, listen. Hi. Have a seat. I'll bring up the notes for you. Okay. It's in front. You have your calculator, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so once you have, you can then press compute FV again. So at the end of it, right, you will get 1347.35. Now, given the same amount of money invested, interest rate, so the only difference here is the compounding frequency. So just because it's compounded quarterly and not annually, you actually have an additional $7 there. Okay, about $7. Of course, to you, $7 may not be a lot because it's only $1,000. But in the real finance world, if it's 100 million or if it's 1 billion, that small $7 amount will make a difference. Okay, and that is what we call the power of compounding interest. There's no substitute. Okay, so hopefully it's okay. So of course, if I change the question, let's say in the exam, right, they may not use quarterly. Let's say if they say compounded monthly, then what do? So here you will just take 6 times 12, and then here you will just take 5 divided by 12. That's it. Okay, then you will still get you get the answer. Yeah. Now that's done. Okay, that's future value. Now, what about the next part? Is called present value. Okay, this is more about finding how much you need now, or how much is your investment worth today. So let's say Marshall requires $50,000 to pay for his house down payment in 4 years' time. So 4 years from now, I need 50,000. Okay, so if I want to get that money today, how much should I start with? So if let's say his investment earns 12% per year, how much does he need to put in today so that he can earn 50,000 in 4 years' time? 4 years' time. So now the question is changing. They are not looking for FV anymore. They are looking for PV. Okay, so again, we'll go through the same thing. You have 4 years, so I put 4 as N. Okay, 12% as your interest rate. IY. 50,000 is your future value, not PV. Be careful. Okay, then again, there's no annuities there, so you put it at 0, and then you compute your PV. Okay, so this is your answer. So today you will need to start off with this amount of money, okay, into your account in order to get 50,000 in 4 years' time. So that's to find the present value. So I mean, to round up, right, for this calculator is basically, since I have these 5 buttons here, right, as if you want to find any, let's say if I want to find, like earlier on, I want to find the future value, so I will need the input for the remaining 4. As long as you know any of the 4, you can get the last unknown. Okay. Okay, let's. Hopefully it's okay for this. If a question you can ask. Okay, next part. It's just changing the story again. Now let's say we are looking for the return for the investment or the interest rate. So let's say CJ has invested $100,000 into his investment portfolio, okay, and then he projects that this will be worth 150,000 in 10 years' time. Okay, now of course, assuming that his projection is really correct, you will get 150,000 in 10 years' time. Then in that case, how much return would he actually get on his investment on the average every year? So we call that a return a compounded annual growth rate. In short, the bankers always call it what's the CAGR. Okay, this is what we call the CAGR. That means your average return. So again, basically they're just looking for the IY. So of course in your calculator, right, you will set 10 years into your N. Okay, and then 100,000 you will set it into your PV. Okay, now be careful here. Since we need to enter the PV and the FV, right, this time, make sure that one of them is negative. Otherwise, you won't get your answer. So let's say I choose FV to be negative. It doesn't affect your final answer. So I'll put 150,000 here. Then I'll press the plus minus button to make it into a negative number. Then you press FV. Okay, so you will get a negative number. So you can switch the sign if you want. It doesn't affect your final answer. Then of course our PMT is still 0. Okay, we are not going to use it until later. Then you compute your IY. So you will get 4.13797, which means that on the average, CJ is earning 4.14% per year over that 10 years. That is the average return. So basically, if you know any of the 4, you can find the other unknown. So these are the kind of questions that you can get. So these are all covered in quants, but I illustrate it over calculator, so it looks quite doable. So of course, obviously, if you look at it this way, right, you don't even need to know the formula. You don't need to know the formula in order to do the question. You need the washroom? It's actually the blue, you see the blue key on the wall? That's a, yeah, that's it. Okay, now, okay, next part, the last part is, okay, how long would it take, let's say, if you want to achieve a known return, okay? Now, let's say Pauline wants to know how long, if she invests 30,000 today, how long would it take for it to increase to 60,000? Okay, let's say, given that her investment account earns 10% per year, okay, how long would she have to wait? Okay, so of course here you are looking for the N. Okay, so your interest rate is 10, so put 10 IY. Then, of course, PV is 30,000, how much you have today. Of course, for the FV, you have to manually calculate this yourself. So since you want to double it, I'll put 60,000 here. Again, the FV has to be, one of these has to be negative. So again, I put it to FV to be negative. Then PMT is 0, and then you compute your N. Okay, then you will get your answer. So approximately, it's about 7.27 years. Okay, so you will need to wait 8 years basically. 7 years won't get you double. You need to wait more than 7 years. Of course, the question can say it doesn't have to be double. It can be 40,000. It can be 50,000. Okay, so you just have to adapt to the question. Level 1 questions are all shortliners. Okay, they won't twist around. Okay, all the information will be given in the question. Okay, when you get to level 2, then the game will change. In level 2, you will have only 120 questions. That means 60 in the morning, 60 in the afternoon. But the catch is, this time is based on case study. So there will be 1 case study, 6 questions. 1 case study, 6 questions. So it's a different game to play for level 2. Level 1, all standalone. So all the examples here clearly just shows you how to use your PVM. Okay, if you have a single cash flow, I assume that you only invest one amount, one cash flow here. Okay, no repetitive cash flows yet. Okay, now, assuming you guys are okay up to date, right? Okay, now, next part is, before the second part here, it's just a very minor part. Okay, just now we talked about Davis who actually invested his $1,000 and then the account actually compounds quarterly. Okay, and we found out that when Davis invested his money, right, it actually made more than what Peter was actually making, okay, by an additional $7.25. Now, then the question here is, what is Davis' actual return per year? Is it really 5%? Okay, the answer would be, it's more than 5%. Okay, now how much more? Very simple. So again, back to Davis' story. Davis invests $1,000 and then the account is paying 5%, but it's compounding quarterly. Okay, for 6 years, and then we calculated the future value as 1347.35. I just copy and paste. Now, what is its effective annual rate of return? So I show you guys 2 ways to get it. Okay. Now the long way would be to, of course, set the 1347.35. I'll put a negative, and then you set it as your future value. Then I will set 6 for 6 years as your N. Then PV will be 1,000. Then PMT will still be 0. Okay, and then when you compute your IY, you will get the answer straight away. It's 5.0945. Okay, how this is different from the one just now is earlier, my N is 24 quarters. But now I assume it's just per year. So I put 6. So my interest rate here will be the effective annual rate. That means effectively how much am I getting in a year. Okay, this is of course more complicated way to get it. There is an even easier one to do it. Okay, now you can try this first. You can try this later, but actually this is the one I wanted to show you guys. There's a very easy function in your calculator. It's called the interest conversion function. You can press second 2. Okay, that brings you into the interest conversion option. Of course, the first thing you will see is norm. Okay, norm stands for the nominal rate. Okay, some people call it the stated annual rate. Basically, the nominal rate here refers to what is quoted on your account, the 5%. Okay, so your norm here will be the 5%. Okay, what is being quoted or what is stated. So there will be 5, enter. Keep in mind, always enter to save. Now, of course, to make it short, I'll rather scroll up or scroll down. Okay, so you can scroll up. Okay, you can scroll down if you want to. You scroll up until you find CY. Okay, CY here stands for compounding frequency per year. That's why you see the C there, compounding frequency. So of course, in this case, Davies account compounds quarterly. Okay, so of course I'll put 4. If it's compounded annually, I put 1. If it's compounded twice a year, put 2. So you just follow the question. You never ever have to guess in your exam. Okay, so CY is 4 quarterly here. Again, enter, enter, scroll up, then you will see EFF. EFF here is the effective annual rate, the EAR, we call it EAR in the syllabus. So of course the calculator will not give you anything. You have to instruct it. So I press CPT, compute. Okay, press the compute button, you'll get 5.0945. Okay, this is your effective annual rate. So you're not actually getting 5% per year. Effectively, you are getting 5.0945% per year if your money generates faster. Because in the exam, they can ask you quarterly or monthly or daily. Okay. If it's daily, we put 365. Okay, 365. So these are the useful functions in your calculator. Of course, again, here you don't need to know the formula to do it. Okay, just to show you guys, the actual formula for this EAR, right, this is how it looks. You will have to take 1 plus the stated rate, divide by your compounding frequency, power m minus 1. This is a formula that you need to remember. Okay, basically it looks like that. You have to take 1 plus 5%, 5% divided by 4, power 4 minus 1. This is the actual formula. Okay, but in the exam, there is no need to know this formula. Okay, because you have the calculator.
Can you just ask a question? For the level 1 exam, in general, are all the formulas required to be memorized, or can we just rely on the calculator? Like for in general the topics?
Some formulas will need to be memorized. So of course, when you go for the classes, I will tell you, okay, this one you need to memorize, this one you don't need to memorize.
Okay.
So it's a mix. One point you mentioned, right, is for those who think that the exam has formula sheet, there is none. You need to memorize those that you need. You have to memorize those formulas. Okay, now done. Okay, next part is on annuities here. Now annuity is when there is a sequential cash flow. That means there's a repeated cash flow, okay, over a period of time, just like your insurance premiums or your mortgage payments. Okay, we call that annuities. Now, let's start with one question. It's a very easy one to use. Now we just make use of your PMT. Okay, now let's say we start off with the future value of our annuity. Okay, and my assumption here is that my first annuity payment starts in one period from now. Not today, later. Now, let's say you plan to invest 20,000 Sing dollars per year in a stock index fund for the next 30 years. Of course, you will start investing 1 year from now, not today, one year from now. So this fund on the average has earned 9% per year historically. So for now, we just assume that it will continue. Okay, but this is bad practice. You cannot always assume that it will continue. Now, how much money will you have available for retirement after making the last payment 30 years from now? After 30 years, how much will your money have built into? Okay, now by default, your calculator will be set to a mode of END. Now, how do you know whether you are in this mode or not? A very quick tip for you guys is when you look at your calculator screen, right? Calculator screen here. If you notice that there is nothing, there's no label there, it's blank, but practically it's blank, means that you are in the END mode. You are using the N mode at the moment. The other mode that we are going to use later is called the BGN mode. So you are now using END, END. So if you are using the BGN, the calculator will warn you by putting a label BGN there. Okay, because depending on the mode that you use, you will get a different answer. So you have to be very careful here. Okay? Sometimes you tend to unconsciously ignore this, but it will only haunt you when you start doing your mock exam, okay, or when you start doing questions. So let's ignore that. Okay, we'll stick to END. END here, right, means that your first annuity payment starts one period from now. If you are using BGN, the first payment here will start now, immediately. Okay, so the difference here is when does the first payment start? Now or later? Okay. Now, so after making all the payment, okay, what you need to do here is you put 0 as PV because you're not investing any money today. Okay. So the 20,000 is repetitive, so you put 20,000 and then this time you save it into PMT. Okay. Then 30 for 30 years. Okay, 30 and put it as N. Okay, of course the calculator will also treat this as 30 times of $20,000. Okay, that's how they'll look at it. Yeah, there will be 30 times of $20,000. Okay. Interest rate will be 9. Then you compute your FV. Okay, you will get about 2.7 million there. Okay, that is the power of compounding. If you didn't do anything with your money, you just kept it under your bed, 220,000 per year, you will only have $600,000 by the end of 30 years. And that is ignoring inflation. But with interest rates compounding, your money will increase many folds. Okay? So that's why time is something on your side. Of course, I'm assuming 9% throughout. Of course, in real life, interest rates fluctuate. Okay? Now, another few things to mention, just to mention here. Now, the PV here, right, I purposely set it as 0 because other than the $20,000, you didn't make any additional investment. Okay? The only time you need to change this PV is, let's say, apart from this, right, let's say you plan to start investing 20,000 starting next year. But now, let's say you want to put in 5,000 first. 5,000 now, and then later on 20,000 repetitively. So the $5,000 you will put it into your PV. So this PV is just a one-off sum that you invest today. Okay, or just a one-off sum. That's why here there's no one-off sum here. So I didn't put in anything. I just put a 0. So be careful there. So the cash flows will look like this. Okay, nothing today. Then at end of the year, 20,000. Then repetitively until end of the 30 years. So the 2.7 million here is the value of all your money at this point, at the last point. The moment you put in the $20,000, that whole amount is worth 2.73 million. That whole amount. Okay, at this point, at point 2. The reason why I put the bar here is because I want to show you the difference between the payment starting later and the payment starting today. Okay. Any questions here before I move on? Okay, assuming you're okay with this. Now, next one, I will assume that it starts immediately. Okay, now let's look at the question here. Your company offers you a retirement benefit in the form of an annuity with 20 payments of $200,000 a year, with the first payment starting today. Means immediately today I give you $200,000. Okay, rationally, right, we assume that you will invest it. You will not quickly go out and buy a sports car. Okay, you will not squander your money. You will invest it. So let's say the interest rate in your bank is 7% per year, compounded annually. So what is the future value of your annuity offered by your company after 20 years if it reinvested into your bank account? That means, assuming that here today, at time 0, which means now, you receive the $200,000 for the next 20 times. Okay, take note that the last payment stops at year 19 because there's only 20 payments. 20 payments there. 20 payments. Alright? So the timeline is a bit different now. Now, of course, but there are still 20 payments here, although it stops at year 19. Okay. Now, what you need to do is you need to change the mode to BGN. So what I need you guys to do is press second PMT. Okay, press second PMT. You will see END. That's the end mode. Okay. Then you will need to change it. You will need to press second enter. That changes it to BGN. Okay. Once you're done, before you start calculating, please press CEC to exit that screen. Otherwise, you will not get any answer later. So be careful there. Press CEC, get out. Okay, to start, okay, you will again start with a very simple thing. Press 0 PV. Okay, there's no one-off lump sum there. Then 200,000 will be PMT. That's how much you are going to invest into your bank account every year to earn 7%, so 7 IY. Okay, and then you put 20 as N for 20 years. So when you put 20 here, right, the calculator will think, okay, you based on BGN, your first payment starts now, Okay, and then there will be 20 payments. There will be 20 times of that 200,000. Okay. Now, the problem with this calculator is that when you press compute FV, right, they will calculate the future value of that 20 series of payments 20 years later. So you will get about 8.199 million there, but this $8.199 million is not at the end of these 19 years. Instead, it will be the value at the end of 20 years. It's a bit weird in that sense. That's just how the calculator works. Okay, it will still be here. It will still be at the end of that 20 years. Although there's no money here, but they assume that you reinvest everything up to year 20. Okay, they'll give you the value at this point.
My number is also 877 30.
So let's try it out. Okay, 0 PV. Did I forget to change the mode? Let's see. PMT 7 IY 20 is N. Let's see. N 7 0 200,000. Okay, now to compute my every. Yeah, S773. Okay, so that's S773. This one is based on END. Okay. Compute every. Yeah, this is based on END, so be careful there. Okay, so if this number is, if let's say your 200,000 starts 1 year later, if you only started investing this 200,000 1 year later, then of course your money works slower, starts slower, so you get less. Okay, but in your case you get 8773. That's the answer. So be careful with the setting. You will see in the exam. Just be careful in the exam. If they say first payment, if they want you to do BGN, right, they will have to tell you that the first payment starts immediately. Otherwise, if they don't say anything about when the first payment starts, always assume that it starts later. That is how the exam assumes it. That's the assumption. That's that. Okay, future value done. Now, let's say, okay, now we are looking for the present value of an annuity. Let's do a very simple one. So let's say we have a financial asset that pays 15,000 a year for the next 3 years, with the first payment starting 1 year from today. So I purposely mentioned 1 year from today. So you need to use the END mode. Okay. So if you, let's say if you require a return of 12% from this investment, what is the present value of this financial asset? So let's calculate it first, then I'll tell you what it means. So if you have not changed it, this is how you change it back to END. Again, press second, PMT. Okay, you see BGN. Press second, enter. So you'll change back to END. And then press CEC to exit the screen. So you press FV is 0. That means there's nothing in the, there's no one-off lump sum in the future. Your annuity is 15,000 per year. Interest rate is 12%, 3 years, and then you compute PV. Okay, so they will calculate what is the value of all these $15,000 today, back to today. So you, this 36,000 represents the value of that financial asset based on today's condition. Now, for some analysts, they call this the intrinsic value. Some accountants may call this the fair value. Okay, so there are many different terms for it. Okay, but in layman's term, right, what this means here is that if you want to make 12% out of this investment, the most you will pay for it, this is this amount. This is the max that you will pay. If you pay, let's say if you pay more than this, your return will be less than 12%. Since the 15,000 is fixed, this one doesn't change. So the only way to make more is to pay less and less. Okay. So imagine if let's say this financial consultant comes to you and say, sir, I want to sell this product to you for $40,000. Let's say I want to sell it for $40,000 to you. Would you agree to buy this? No. Answer is no, because you believe that the value should be 36,000. This is the value to you. So if it's 40,000 as the price, that's very expensive. But if the guy says that I will sell it to you for 35,000, then that's very cheap. That is where you should buy. So that gives the concept of undervalued and overvalued. Okay. So that's the PV. Okay. So very straightforward. Now, what happens if the annuity keeps going forever? Okay, if the annuity payment doesn't stop, right, we basically call it a perpetuity. That means there's no end to it. Okay, so let's say from the same question again, but this time it's a financial asset that pays $15,000 per year, but it pays it indefinitely. That means forever, doesn't stop. So in this case, the first payment starts 1 year from today. Now, if you require, let's say, a return of 12% from this investment, what is the present value of this financial asset? So in this case, the calculator allows you to manipulate in certain ways. You just have to be a bit creative. So since it's going to be indefinite, right, you can just put a very large number here in your N. I chose 10,000. You could go for 5,000. You could go for 3,000. I believe you'll get the same value. Okay. The whole idea here is to put a very huge value for N, so it looks like it's repeating forever. Okay. So I put 10,000. You don't have to reset. You just enter this part and just save it in. You don't have to re-enter the whole thing. Okay. So once you compute PV, right, you'll get 125,000. This is how much you would pay for this asset today. Okay, this is the value to you if you want a 12% return. Of course, how the actual formula looks like is very straightforward. The PV of the perpetuity, right, is just your PMT divided by your interest rate. This is the actual formula, but of course the calculator doesn't require you to know that. Okay. If you want to do the actual calculation, right, it's just 15,000 divided by 12%. That's will give you 125,000 as well. In real life, where do you find this kind of instruments? If you guys have heard of preferred shares before, preferred shares are shares that gives you no voting rights, but it pays you a fixed dividend as long as the company is a going concern. That means as long as the company doesn't go bankrupt, they'll pay you that dividend every year. So it's something like that. So that's an example of that financial asset. Now, for that, okay, last part here, quick one. Okay, it's just a different variation. Let's say you want to take out a loan to buy a home. Okay, so let's say you're planning to buy a house that's 880,000, and now you need to, let's say you're going to make a down payment of 80,000. So you paid off 80,000 there. Okay, you need to borrow $800,000. Okay, for the remainder. So the loan is 30 years, fixed rate mortgage. Okay, with monthly payments. Okay, so the first payment is due at t equals to 1, which means 1 period from now. So let's say your current mortgage interest rates, right, is quoted at 4.8% per year with monthly compounding. So this 4.8%, right, is per year, but you need to divide by 12 to get the interest rate per month. Okay, now what will your monthly mortgage payments be? So in this case, we'll put mode as n because the first payment is due 1 period from now. Then you'll put FV as 0. Okay, in this case, that means that by the end of the 30 years, you will no longer owe the bank anything. Okay, you will owe the bank 0. You have repaid everything by then. Your PV will be 800,000. Okay, remember to minus off the down payment. For the interest rate, be careful. Don't put 4.8. Put 4.8 divided by 12 equals to, okay, so you get 0.4. This is 0.4% per month. So that's your interest rate. You need to adjust, be careful. Okay, interest rate. Then for the period here is 30 years, but interest is paid monthly. So you need to take 30 times 12, then that's equals to 360 months. Save it as your N. Then lastly, compute your payment. So this is just a different application of the calculator. So you will get about 4,197.32. That's your average monthly payment. Of course, the bank will charge you more because they need to charge you admin charges and all those things. Okay, but there's a rough gauge for you. So when you go to websites, sometimes you go and see on the website they have this mortgage calculator or loan installment calculator, right? It's all based on this one. It's all the same. Okay, so that is on TVM for the first part. Okay, let's say a quick 2 minutes here. Okay. The next part is just some introduction on bond valuation. Very simple.
I have a question. Regarding the timetable you gave,
Okay.
right? The morning session and the afternoon session, is it the same thing?
Morning session.
Yeah, the online one.
The online one, right? Okay, is basically it's a continuation. Basically, in actual right in Malaysia, the class starts at 9 in the morning, then they go until 12. They take a break, then they start at 1 until 4.
So it's
One whole class.
continuation. It's not the same thing.
It's
part 1 and part 2.
yes,
continue.
correct. But for you guys, you can view it anytime that you want. Everyone okay? Yeah.
Is there be any question where there's a geometric increase of payment?
No.
So far.
Unless you're taking an actuarial paper, yes. Yeah, in this case.
The actual definition for discount is quite different from CFA, right?
If you're taking actuarial, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
The CFA definition is discount is equals to interest.
Correct. Alright. You're from actuarial science background.
Yeah.
Alright, I get that quite a few times a year. I
It's
say, hey, the discount factor different from what I learned. I said, you want to pass CFAs, you follow CFA syllabus.
Okay.
You're taking SOA or are you taking SOA or the
I did the first two.
the FM and the
FM and
P?
P.
Okay, now let's get to the next part. Okay, now for bond valuation, right, it's still TVM, so no worries there. Now for those of you who do not know what's a bond, right, bond is it's a type of investment. It's a debt investment actually. And the most basic type of bond actually pays coupons or interest, and it's normally a fixed coupon. Okay, now just a quick example. Let's say if you're planning to buy a bond, okay, a fixed rate bond, let's say. Fixed rate means a fixed interest bond. Bond, sometimes they call it fixed income. Now, let's say the face value is $1 million. Face value means how much will it pay you back at the end of the maturity. That means this is a principal. Then, let's say it pays a coupon of $50,000 per year, which equates to a 5% coupon rate, but I calculated that for you. Then, it has a tenure of 8 years, means that it will pay you $50,000 every year for 8 years. And on top of that, at the end of the 8 years, they will give you back $1 million. Okay, so given this case, let's say the current market yield is 6% per annum for this kind of bonds. That means you need a 6%. The market needs a 6% return. So what is the value of this bond? Okay, now in this case, right, it's just calculating the PV, and the coupons are basically your annuity. Alright, so you will still be using the N mode here. Your N will be 8. There is your tenor, 8 year. Your IY will be 6% for the market rate. Don't use the coupon rate, just use the market rate, market yield. Your coupon is 50,000. There's an annuity amount. I created a graph for you guys here. There's a timeline. 50,000 per year for the 8 years. Okay, and then lastly is the FV. FV will be $1 million. So at the end of the 8 years, right, they'll pay you an extra $1 million here. Okay, so given all these cash flows here, if you want to enjoy all these cash flows, how much would you need to pay for it today? Okay, so when you press compute PV, you will get about 938,000 here. That is how much you would have to pay for this bond today. Okay, if you pay this amount today, you will be able to receive all these cash flows for the next 8 years, assuming they don't default. Okay, so this whole thing will allow you to earn a return of 6% per year on the average. Okay. When you study the topic on fixed income, they normally call this yield the yield to maturity. That's what we call the YTM. Okay, but you will learn this later. I try not to make it too complicated as of now. But my point here is that any kind of financial assets, right, has cash flows, and these cash flows, if they are repetitive, you can make use of your TVM function. Okay. The only part that is screwed up is that, let's say if these cash flows are not repetitive, let's say they are all different, then you can't use the TVM function anymore. Okay, you will have to use the cash flow worksheet, which brings us to the next part. Okay. Okay, so this is what you will learn in fixed income. Okay, bond valuation. What is the value of the bond? Okay, how do you calculate the yield later on? You use all that will be covered. Now, what happens, like I mentioned just now, if you have a lot of cash flows, but the cash flows are all not the same? So you will need to use the cash flow worksheet. Let's start off with that. So the most popular thing in corporate finance is what we call the net present value. So CFOs generally have to evaluate projects to find out, should I invest my money into this project? Will it be profitable? Will it increase my share price? Okay, so these are all the things that CFOs have to ask. And this is one of the tools that allows them to evaluate that. So net present value here, why is it called net? Because when you invest in a project, there is outflow, cash outflow when you invest. And when you invest, later on, money will come back in. There's inflow. So when you have inflows and outflows, when you net them, that's how you get the net present value. So net present value here simply means that you will have the present value of your inflows, and you will have the present value of your outflows. So if you net them, you get net present value. So as in a very general way, saying that if you get an NPV that is positive, that means your inflows is more than your outflows. That's good. But if you have a negative NPV, that means your whatever project that you are doing is destroying value. Your share price is going to go down. Please avoid. Okay? But it's just a tool. Don't rely on it too much. It's just a supplement. So let's say you are reviewing a proposal, right, that requires an initial outlay. Outlay means an investment of $2 million. You expect that the proposed investment will generate net positive cash flows of 0.5 million at the end of year one, and then 0.75 million at the end of year 2, 3, and 4. I purposely put it in such a way that it repeats. Year 2, 0.75, year 3, 0.75, year 4, also 0.75. Then at the end of year 5, there's a $1.35 million. So there's 5 years of cash flows there. Right. Now using 10% as a discount rate for this project, okay, calculate the NPV. So the discount rate is interest rate. Now, what I need you guys to look for is this CF button here on the next to second. Okay, this is your cash flow worksheet. Okay, so when you press CF, right, generally I will ask the students to clear all the values that are inside this cash flow worksheet. And to do that, you will need to press second CEC. Why that? Because the second CEC is to clear your worksheet. That's why you see CLR work here. It's clear worksheet. It clears everything in that screen. Okay, just that screen only. So CF. Okay. Next, so the first thing that you will see is CFO, cash flow now. Cash flow at time 0. So initially you invested $2 million. So that's outflow. So you will put 2. Then you press plus minus. So that's negative 2. Means you invest 2 million. Then you save. Enter. Okay, enter. So the value will be saved. Enter. If you make sure you press enter, if not, your values won't go in. Okay, then once you press enter, scroll down, you'll see CO1, that's cash flow number 1. So cash flow number 1, in year 1, I have this 0.5 here. So I put 0.5, enter 0.5. Again, you have to press enter. Now, you will see here that after CO1, right, I put 2 arrows here. Now, reason being that when you press the down arrow once, right, you will see F01. Now, C stands for cash flow, F stands for frequency, meaning that how many times will this cash flow repeat? Since there is only one 0.5 here, it happens only once, so your F01 is by default 1. So you don't change anything there. That means it only happens once. So scroll down again to CO2. Okay, in the second year, you will start to receive 0.75. So enter 0.75 there, enter, 0.75, enter. Now when you scroll down only once. Now since the cash flows are repeating 3 times, right, it happens 3 times, let's make it easier for us. So when you reach F02, enter 3. because the $0.75 million occurs 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that saves your time slightly up. Of course, some people are a bit stubborn. They say, I don't want can or not. Can. You enter 0.75, 0.75, 0.75 into your CO3, CO4, CO5. Okay, you can do that if you want to. Okay, your answer will still be the same. Right, SO2 is 3, enter. Scroll down to the last one, CO3. That's 1.35, enter. So once you're done, okay, your cash flow is now saved in. Now to generate your NPV, now next to CF, you will see the NPV button. So press NPV. Okay, you will just see an I equals 2 here. That's the interest rate or your discount rate. Later on, you'll call it cost of capital. There are different names. So we are using a 10% discount rate here. So just put 10. 10. 10, enter. Please remember to enter. Okay, enter. Scroll down. Of course, you will say NPV equals 2. Then there is nothing there. Remember to press compute. Okay. So you get 0.98837. It's about $1 million there. Okay. So your NPV here is close to 1 million. It's about 988,000. Don't forget, since you entered these numbers in million, so your output will also be in millions. Now, since the NPV here is positive, right, that means the project has created value for your shareholders. So yes, you should accept this project, okay, if your numbers are correct. Okay. So that's NPV. If you got a negative number here, of course, they should reject the project. If you get 0, 0 basically means you're indifferent. Whether you do it or not, it doesn't change anything. But of course, in real life, if it's 0, we won't do it, because it's like you are spending your money, but then you're not getting anything back. Your shareholders will screw you. Okay. Okay, so that's NPV. Very simple one. It's very useful when you have different cash flows. But if you have similar cash flows, you can still use it by using the F0, the frequency button. Okay. So that makes it useful. But there's a limit. I think the max is C30 only, if I'm not mistaken. So far, I've never gone there before. I find there's no point going there also. Okay, but it goes up to that maximum capacity. Now, another very popular tool for CFOs, right, is called what we call IRR, the internal rate of return. This is basically asking a question: how high can my discount rate go to before my project becomes, let's say, unprofitable? Okay, what's my break-even rate? So using the same project earlier, right, you don't have to change anything. Okay, so let's say in this case, calculate the IRR of the project. Okay, now would the project be accepted using a discount rate of 10%? So to get the IRR, right, assuming that your cash flows are still there, just press IRR and just press compute. That's the only thing you can do. Just press compute and then you'll get about 25.29%. Now, what this number means here, right, is very straightforward. If your discount rate is not 10%. Let's say your investors requires your project's return to be 25.29%. In that case, your project NPV will be equals to 0. Okay. The idea of IRR here is that is the discount rate that will make your project NPV equals to 0. That means you will just break even. You won't create anything. You won't destroy anything. Okay. So in this case, right, my project's IRR is 25.29%. There's still a very long way to go. But my investors are now asking for 10% as a cost of funding the project. So since they're asking for 10%, my maximum capacity is 25.29. I still have a lot of buffer to go. So of course, it will be okay for you to do this project. Okay, unless they start asking for 30%, they say, oh, I can't do anything for you, then please go to another place to invest. Okay, because 30% is higher than what your project can generate. Okay, so that is the idea behind IRR. So some CFOs prefer NPV, some prefer IRR. It depends on their education. Some people prefer, some MBAs teach more NPV, some MBAs cover more IRR. Okay. So these are the popular questions. Okay. So that's how your level 1 questions will look like. I mean, if there's calculation based. One more thing. Now, in your exam, right, of course, in terms of theory to calculation ratio, right, please expect between 60 to 70% theory, 30 to 40% calculation. Okay, it's not like everything 80% calculation, no. Okay, it will still be a good mix of theory. Right? Now, showing some other parts here. Okay, now for example, how do we, okay, the whole idea of CFA is of course looking at valuation. You either value a company, or you value a share, or you value a merger and acquisition. So just for example, just giving you a very simple example here of how we value a company's shares using a model called the dividend discount model. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, let's say, this is from actual numbers here. Let's say you are researching on Microsoft stock trading on NASDAQ. Let's say you, as the equity analyst, you forecast that Microsoft is going to pay a dividend of $2 next year in year 1, and then year 2 they're going to pay $2.10 per share, and then in year 3 they're going to pay $2.30, and at the end of year 3, at that point, Microsoft share price will be $100. Currently it's about $70 plus. Okay. Now, given that Microsoft's cost of equity, or the required return by shareholders, is 8%, okay, what is the intrinsic value of Microsoft's share value? Okay, that means what is the so-called true value? Okay, so of course, to do this, again, in your calculator, right, in the CF function, you will just press CF, then you will press second CEC to clear the numbers inside. Okay, and then this time for CFO, don't enter anything because you did not invest anything. Okay, they didn't say anything about any investment. So keep it as 0. Enter. You will still need to press enter. Enter. Go down to CO1. Okay. Now CO1, of course, 1 year from now you'll get $2. So press 2 there. Enter. Move down to CO2. Type 210. Enter. Then you move on to the last one. Be careful. In the 3rd year, you receive a dividend of $2.30, and you assume that you sell your share off. Okay, that's $100. So you should have 102.3 for the last cash flow. Okay. Some students are very careless. They put 230 for CO3, they enter, then they go to CO4, then they enter $100. Then you get the wrong answer. So be careful. Always know the timing of your cash flows. You get it wrong, your answer is wrong. Okay. So once you've entered all the cash flows, then again you go to NPV. Just press I will be equals to 8, for example. Then enter. Then scroll down, go for NPV. Then you press compute. Then you will get your answer. Okay. So if what this number here means is that if your forecast is correct, your forecast of the dividends, your forecast of the share price is correct, by right, Microsoft's share price today should be $84.86. So of course I mentioned the word should be. That's a theoretical value. Okay. Of course, Microsoft's share price in the market could be different. Let's say, assuming that my forecast is correct, let's say it's Microsoft's share price today, or we call the market price, is 73.30. So let's say if you think that Microsoft's value should be 84.86 compared to the market price today, would you actually buy, or would you actually advise your client to sell? Buy. Because if the intrinsic value is higher than your market price, this share is under what we call undervalued. Okay, we call it undervalued, or we call it cheap. Then you should buy. Okay, I mean when you become an analyst, that's your job. You need to find out shares that are undervalued. Okay, you will buy undervalued shares, and then for overvalued shares, of course, you want to sell them off or you avoid them. So that's how valuation is done. Of course, this one is very simple because this is already forecasted for you. In real life, you need to forecast the $2. Okay, in real life, you need to forecast how you get this 8%. You will need to explain to your boss, hey, where you get this 8%, where's your basis? Okay, they'll ask you how to justify your numbers. Of course, in CFA, it's very easy. You don't need to justify to anyone. As long as you pass, there's your justification. Okay, okay, so that's an example of how valuation is done. Okay, but there are other models that are used. This is just a very simple one. So in other words, valuation is just the present value of your cash flows. That is the most important thing that you guys will take away tonight. When you do valuation, it's just the PV of future cash flows. Keep that in mind. So that is all with valuation, time value of money. The next part is very, very short. It's just looking at statistics. Okay, the next part that has a built-in function, very useful. So of course, there's still some stats here. You still can't escape from it, even though you finish your high school and university, it still haunts you, even if you do CFA. Okay, but it's not very, very difficult. Now, so of course, these days people talk about big data, they talk about analytics. That means you are dealing with a lot of data. You're trying to convert data into information or into something that helps make decisions. Same thing here. In investment, of course, the main thing that you want to look at are two things: risk and return. Okay, when you do any investment. Now, here let's look at a very simple example. So I took Microsoft as an example. I took the money returns for 1 year from 2016 to 2017. Okay, these are their money returns. It's just a sample. Okay, based on the actual price. Okay, based on this period. So during the last 12 months, these are the different returns: 3.28, 4.67. So there are good months. Of course there are bad months as well. Negative would mean a loss. Positive would mean that the share price increased. Okay, so of course, let's say if your portfolio manager wants to evaluate, has the risk increased, or is the risk still the same? Okay, or is it higher than what the investor can tolerate? Okay, so of course, let's calculate the average return and standard deviation of Microsoft's stock return. Okay, let's do it very quickly. So I need two things: average and standard deviation. Average will tell me what is my return, average return. Standard deviation is used to describe the risk of the investment. Now, of course, bear in mind, risk doesn't always mean a negative thing. Risk simply means that there is a fluctuation. Okay, there's a fluctuation on the upside as well as on the downside. Where there is risk, there is of course danger, but there is also opportunity. Okay, so you look at it both ways. Now, to enter the data into your calculator, right, you will need to press second 7. Okay, of course, second 7, on top of that, you will see data. That's where you enter your data. Now, to clear it off, again, press second CEC. Clear the numbers inside. Just in case you may have used someone else's calculator. Okay, clear off. So, okay, of course, the first thing you will see is X01. Okay, this is where you will enter your numbers. Now, the sequence of how you enter doesn't matter. But of course, for myself, to make it consistent, I will just follow the sequence. Alright? So first number, 3.28, enter. Okay? Now, of course, again, I scroll down twice. Because when you scroll down once, you will see Y01. That's another variable. So don't touch that yet. Just keep to the X. Okay? So scroll down again, go to X02. You will see 4.67. Okay? 4.67, next one. And then enter, scroll down twice to X03, enter the next number, 3.55. Okay, and I'll let you guys try the rest first. This is not the end yet, just enter the numbers for now. If you make a mistake, don't worry. Go back to that same number, type the correct figure, and then just press enter. Okay? If you have any issues or you encounter any problems, let me know. Some of them have negative numbers, be careful. Like 1.26 and negative 1.41. Actually this 3.06 shouldn't have a plus minus here, be careful. Minus again. Cancel off. Put an X here, X. Okay? Don't enter the part. Anyway, there's a way to check later. Don't worry. Okay, assuming you're done. If you're not, you can continue to enter. Don't worry. Let me see. Okay. Next one. Okay. Now, once you're done, in order to generate the numbers, right, you need to press second 8 to access the statistic function. Just now was the data sheet. Is data sheet. Now you need to access the stats function. So normally you will see 1V or LIN. If you see LIN, there is nothing for you to do anymore. Anyone who is not seeing LIN or you don't see 1-V, right? You let me know. Okay. If you see this, then you just continue scrolling. Okay. So scroll down. Okay. You scroll down, you will see n equals to 12. That's telling you that you just entered 12 observations in. Okay. Then you will see X bar. Anything with a bar there, right, means the average. Okay, that's average. So the average of your numbers here is 2.2958. That's what you should see. Okay, if not, you should check the numbers that you've entered. Something could have gone wrong. Okay, so this number tells me that Microsoft's average return, monthly average return for the last 1 year is about 2.3% on the average. Okay, and then when you scroll down again, you will see SX. Okay, SX here represents the sample standard deviation of Microsoft's return. If you scroll down again, you will see sigma x, this Greek letter here. This is the population standard deviation of Microsoft's return. Now in the exam, they could either ask you to calculate the sample or the population standard deviation. They'll mention it very clearly. Like here, I mentioned the sample. So in the exam, you should take this as your answer, 2.4. Okay? If they don't say anything, they don't mention the word sample, so you take that as your population. Okay? So then you will take this as your answer. So be careful there. So this 2.4 and 2.2982 is just a measure of risk. It's telling you what's the average fluctuation. So in other words, this 2.4 tells me that yes, on the average, Microsoft's money return is about 2.3%. Okay, but in terms of its average fluctuation, it will fluctuate averagely 2.4%. Okay, about the mean, about the average. So that's how you evaluate the risk and return. So of course, how this risk is used, of course by itself, we can't tell much. Okay, unless your client suddenly tells you that, hey, for my Microsoft stocks, right, my maximum tolerance is only 2% for the standard deviation. It can't be more than 2%. But then you tell him, hey, but it went up to 2.4. They say, I can't tolerate that, then you have to sell it for me. Or you need to mix it with something else. Okay, so sometimes the portfolio's risk has to be compared against the client's risk tolerance to see whether is it overly too much risk for him or her. Okay, so of course by itself there's nothing much we can tell. But generally, the higher the standard deviation, the higher the risk, okay, of the investment. Now for that, okay, this is the last one. Okay, of course the last thing that you need to know is correlation. So correlation is normally used to study how two variables are related to each other. Okay, but this relationship is based on a straight line. We are checking for a straight line relationship. We are not checking for curvilinear or parabolic, just a straight line. So let's say someone will ask a question. Okay, how related would Microsoft stock return be to Nasdaq? Nasdaq will be the stock market where Microsoft is listed. Now, let's say based on the following data of Microsoft's return and Nasdaq's return here, okay, what is the correlation between Microsoft and Nasdaq's return? Question number 1. And question number 2, what is the beta of Microsoft? Now, in finance, beta means what is the market risk of Microsoft? Okay, or in other words, how risky is Microsoft's return relative to its stock market? Okay, I mean how sensitive? It's a measure of sensitivity. So it's a very simple thing for if you use a calculator. Let's say if you are given these two returns, right? This is the return for Microsoft. This is the return for Nasdaq. Okay. Now, before I start, in order to calculate the beta, right? Just for the purpose of the beta calculation, my assumption here is the return of Microsoft, okay, is affected by the stock market. I want to find out how Microsoft's return is related to the Nasdaq. So that means Microsoft will now be my Y, what we call the dependent variable. Then Nasdaq will be my X, which is the independent variable. So how I enter it later on is a bit different than just now. Okay, so what I'll do now is that, again, you will go back to second 7. Now I'll just limit to 6 months, not 12 months, just 6 months. You press second 7 here, press data. Okay, go back to the data sheet earlier. Now clear the data sheet, press second CEC, clear everything here. Okay, clear everything. Then start entering again. So again, now just to repeat, right, for X, I will now put it, Nasdaq's return will be under X, Microsoft's return will be under Y. Okay, so for Nasdaq, I'll put 2.2 here. Okay, 2.2, enter. Then next part, Y0, when you scroll down, Y01 will be 3.28, enter. Then X02, again 2.5, Y02, 4.67. Okay. The reason why I put it this way is I'm assuming that Y is dependent on X. That means Microsoft's return is dependent or related to the stock market return. So you can enter this first, give me some time. Of course, in Excel, this is easier. So if you know these functions, it saves you a lot of time. Okay, last part. Okay, again, you can go back to second 8. Same thing. Press second 8. Actually, it's LIN. LIN actually stands for linear regression. That means you can have two variables side by side. Because when you scroll down, you will see 12 again. Because it's sorry, it should be 6. It is 6 this time around. Then you will see your X bar. X bar will be Nasdaq. X bar will be 1.9667. That's the average return for Nasdaq. You scroll down again until you see Y bar. Y bar will be about 2.6133. That's the average return for Microsoft. Okay, let's scroll all the way down until you see B. B here will represent the beta of Microsoft stock. Okay, I'll explain this in a while. It's 1.1238. Okay, and then if you scroll down again, you will see R. This is 0.7786. This R will be the correlation coefficient between Microsoft and Nasdaq. Okay, and this is beta. Now, of course, normally beta represents I mentioned the market risk or the systematic risk of a stock. Now, normally the benchmark here is that if it's more than 1, that stock is deemed as very risky, riskier than the market. If it's less than 1, is has a lower risk than the market. Okay, if it's equals to 1, it has the same risk as the market portfolio. Now, generally, how do we use it, right? Very straightforward. If you see 1.1238 here, it tells us that, this is a very quick example. Let's say today, if Nasdaq's return, let's say today, if Nasdaq's return, let's say the return, the change in the stock market is equals, let's say the Nasdaq increased by 1%. How would you expect that to affect Microsoft stock? So if Nasdaq's stock return increased by 1%. Then for Microsoft side, it will increase by 1.1238%. It's just the sensitivity. How much Microsoft stock return will change when the stock market return changes. So of course, if I change this to 10%, then this will become, just times 10, it will become 11.238%. It's just used as a gauge. Okay? The actual change will vary. This is just expected, an estimation. Okay? Of course, the beta will then be used for CAPM, one of very popular model as well. Then for correlation coefficient, generally it ranges between -1 to 1. Okay, now just a quick one. If you see -1, right, it means that you will see this straight line. All your y and x are on the same line, and the slope is negative. That's correlation equals to -1. Okay, if you see r equals to +1, which is the other extreme, then you will see a straight line with an upward slope. All your points will be on the same. Positive slope, negative slope. If it's perfectly 1, everything will be on a straight line. If it's 0.8, 0.9, 0.7, then the points will start to scatter. Okay, that's how correlation is. So we see a very strong positive correlation between Microsoft and Nasdaq here because it's very close to 1. Okay, so it's very strong positive correlation. So these are the things that you roughly need to know for your exam. Okay, besides that, so anything to do with correlation, you don't really need to memorize the formula. Okay, pretty much that's. Yeah. So this one remove this part. Yeah, so that's basically all for the financial calculator workshop. Okay, so if you have, if you have any questions, you can send back to us. If not, then we'll just call it a day. Okay, thanks so much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Normally I advise you to do one by one. You say minus 0.65. Okay. Square it. Times 0.5. Now to make things easier, right? Normally it's best to save the number. So let's say for example, I just store 1. So that means the number has already been saved into my mind. So later on when I want to recall it, I just press LCL. Do this now. You're likely to make less error. You can actually type in one line, but it's quite dangerous. I times release. Yeah, if you want to go like one shot, right? Let's say you take 0.15 times bracket. No bracket, right? You see invisible. 0.18 minus 1165 close bracket. Continue. But you have to be careful because you have to maintain everything right. If you get something wrong in between, you have to restart.
I just want to ask for the KD division, the financial calculator doesn't have a inbuilt function.
For color duration, normally what I do is I calculate the modified duration. I calculate the approximate. Calculate the the difference. Calculate the MD, and then because the MACD is just the modified duration times the 1 plus 1. This is the easiest approximate. Otherwise, you remember the closed form solution. One question only, not worth it.
Yeah.
Screw. Oh, okay. Yeah, just my text. Yes. Yes.
Is there a way to do that?
Yes. Just like just now. Remember just now I divided and times the period, right?
Yeah.
You just have to take a very huge number. Like for example here, right? Let's say here. Here was compounded quarterly, right?
Yeah.
But this is continuous compounding. Instead of if this is continuous compounding, instead of multiplying by 4 and dividing by 4, I'll just multiply by say 5,000.
It works.
It works.
Oh, okay.
But it has to be a large number.
Okay.
If you just take like even like if you take 1,000, right, there will still be some rounding error, right? But it's quite near.
Okay.
But I'm sure for you can memorize the formula, right?
Trying not to, because the CFA is, I mean the SOA is too crazy.
SOA normally they have formula sheet, no, right?
They do, but there are way too many formulas.
You have too many those signs or notation.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, sorry. Oh, holding period return means, okay, because the investment was for 3 years, right? That means you need to know the 3 years return. They didn't ask about holding period return is not average, it's not annual return. That means HPR is the return for the whole period.
Investment without the annualizing.
Unless they ask for geometric return, then you need to put the 1/3. It is a geometric return.
So HPR don't have to analyze it.
Correct.
Just to get the discount for the revision cost, you still have to be applied, I mean, you have to apply,
No, the 2.5% is it?
yes.
When does the thing start? The revision? 1 week before the mock exam.
1 week after mock.
Before
first
the
one?
no,
Oh,
before the
before.
first mock.
Okay.
If the first mock is 30th October, then you come in by 23rd.
Okay.
Then that's a good.
Alright, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
One question. The IB and DB cannot interchangeably, right?
IVN.
Will we keep X and Y for the IB independent variable?
Yeah, cannot. I mean, if it's for the B, right? The B cannot. But for correlation coefficient, it doesn't matter. For this one, right, it doesn't matter which is X, which is Y. But for beta, it must be the right one. Beta, you need this to be in the right Y and X. Correlation doesn't matter.
Oh, that means even if I interchangeably change the
This will still be the same. This will still be the same, but this will be different.
I think the average
It's wrong.
X and Y will be different.
It will switch.
Switch.
It will switch. This one will be different.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
yeah,
you so much.
see you.
Good night.
I'll send you the questions later.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.